Arpeggio on here. So the lick you just heard in the beginning, I'm going to play that slowly once, and you have the tabs available on my Patreon with a link in the description. So we start here on the 2nd fret of the low E string. So to be able to play this stuff, I practice a lot of 3-note per string picking, I practice single string picking, and to help you out with that, I have 2 different courses on those topics, and you have a link to those in the description below as well. Now, what I want to talk about in this video is just a quick tip on how you can learn shapes on the guitar much faster, as well as a way to improve your overall technique. And what I'm talking about here is moving things chromatically across the fretboard. There's nothing wrong with learning things in a key. I think that's crucial to do, but to learn the shapes better and not get confused when you change keys eventually, I find it much quicker to work on these different shapes that you have a problem with and work them across the fretboard in half steps. So if we take this minor pentatonic shape, so it's just a minor pentatonic, and basically you probably learned this by relating it to where the dots are on the guitar. So if you do that, that's fine initially, but that will really get you into trouble when you want to expand your knowledge to other keys, because then the dots won't help you, right? And if you relied on looking at the dots the whole time, you will not be able to see the shape for what it is. You want to be able to relate the shape to the shape itself, if that makes sense. And the easiest way to get there, and also a bonus here, is that it can really help your technique working on it this way, because when you work something across the fretboard like this, you also get used to all the different spacings on the fretboard, and also the different tensions you get. Because if you start down here, it's a very different feeling up here in terms of the tension of the string, and that can really throw you off if you only play things in one position of the fretboard. And I think that's a big thing to avoid, and I actually learned that from Key Marcello, the guitar player in Europe. He had a seminar in my hometown, talk about being lucky starting out. So this was way back in the 90s, and he basically said that if you practice something, make sure you practice it all over the fretboard, because just because you can play something in one particular area doesn't automatically mean that you can play it in another area. And it's a very simple solution to that, and that's doing what I'm showing you here. So just moving things around chromatically. So let's take the 2nd shape of the minor pentatonic, because most people probably won't be as familiar with that one. And then you can try this for yourself. But I suggest you to try this with any shape you're trying to learn. And it can be a 3-note per string shape, it can be the pentatonic thing, it can be an arpeggio, it doesn't really matter. It can even be a lick that you're learning. And just work it one fret at a time. And the way that I would like to do it, I just find the shape I'm going to be working on. So this one, and I just move it down until I'm sure that I'm going to be able to fit it at the lowest position. So in this case, I'm going to start on the 2nd fret, and then I just play the shape. And move it up 1/2 step. Again. And initially when you do this, if you haven't done it before, you might find that it's kind of confusing at first. And that's because your brain is so used to looking at the dots for orienting yourself. And when you remove that visual aid for yourself, it's going to be trickier initially, but you will develop another way of seeing the shape instead. Because our brains work in the way that we want to see things in the simplest way possible. Because our brains are inherently lazy. You just want to save energy. So if you can find an easier way of doing something, your brain will automatically want to do that. So that's why this is so effective. So your brain will find new ways to relate to whatever shape you're working on. And the only thing you need to do is to make sure you play it accurately. And that's also what you need to do to develop your technique anyway. And I don't really like this way of practicing because it gives me some sort of goalpost as well, because then I can just decide like, okay, I'm going to play this shape, and you can do whatever sequence you want. You don't need to play it straight up and down like this. And then you just decide what you want to do, work it all the way up the fretboard as far as you can fit on the guitar, and then you go all the way back again. Another thing that I like to do when I practice this way is to make sure that I switch the picking up on the way back. So if I start something with a downstroke down here, just going down, up, then I would, when I get up to the highest fret here, it can be quite high, then I would start going down with upstrokes instead. So I'm starting on upstroke here. So you're turning your picking around and you get those reps in going back here. And another thing that's really helpful is you can really make sure that you keep everything as accurate as possible. Because even though it might look like a lot of work here, since you're playing everything on each fret, it's only once per fret, and twice if you go back as well. But then you can see how important it is to keep the accuracy up. Because if you screw something up here, like say at the 10th fret, your brain is going to be a little bit confused because you didn't do it the way that you intended to do it. And that's the problem with practicing at a faster tempo than you can handle. And even if you would be practicing at a very slow tempo, your highest tempo will still increase, because the more accurate reps you do when you practice, the faster you'll be able to play at the end of the day. And yes, you need to try things with speed bursts and stuff like that as well, but the most important thing in my experience, and we're talking about over 30 years of playing here and practicing a lot, and also teaching this to hundreds, if not over 1,000 students at this point, practicing slowly is absolutely crucial, and it's something that a lot of people miss. And the overemphasis of doing this fast is not going to help you in the long run. So if you have trouble with alternate picking overall, or any technique, just make sure that you slow it down to a tempo where you're absolutely certain that you're playing everything perfectly. And something that really helps me to be on point when it comes to this is the acronym RAT, R-A-T. So that stands for relaxation, accuracy, and tone. And I want to check those three boxes when I practice anything. And the tempo is totally irrelevant for me. So if I have to practice things at 40 BPMs or 80 BPMs or 100 BPMs, doesn't really matter. I just want to make sure that those three boxes are ticked. And those three boxes, so to speak, stands for relaxation, like I said, and that's just being relaxed. And when I say relaxation here as well, just make sure that you understand that you need some tension when you play guitar as well. So I compare it to walking. You need to have some tension when you're walking, otherwise you will fall down. But if you tense up too much, it's going to look like you basically crapped yourself. So that's no good either. Same thing here on the guitar. You want to have enough tension so you can play something so it sounds the way that you want it to sound, but you don't want to have any more tension than that. And accuracy, that just stands for everything is completely super accurate. And tone stands for the tone you get out of the instrument. So it has nothing to do with your amp settings. It's just the tone you're getting out of the instrument, how you attack the string and all that stuff. And you want to have a tone that you like, if that's not obvious. Because at the end of the day, no one else in the whole world will hear you play guitar more than you. So make sure you like what you hear. And that also comes into this whole notion of practicing slowly and programming your technique. If you practice everything accurately, but you don't really like the tone you're getting, because maybe you're having too much of an angle on the pick, or it's too flat, or whatever it might be, you maybe pick down here and you don't really like that sound, so you make sure you find a sound that you like. So I just want my sort of default attack to be something that I find pleasant. Doesn't really matter if your friends like it, it just matters if you like it. So try this tip out, just do it with some different shapes, and if you do this for a few days, I'm 100% sure that your technique will get better, but also you will be able to visualize these shapes in a much better and easier way. So try it and see you in the next video.